Hey guys, welcome back to the Unqualified Film Bros podcast. We're doing a deep dive into Glenn Powell and his many, many layers of identity in the new film from Richard Linklater that you can watch on Netflix, Hitman. And based on everything I've seen, it's a hit, man.
Wow.
Glenn Powell said it on Twitter first. All right, guys, what'd you think?
Incredible. Uh, I guess I'll go first. Um, yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. I think my only criticism would be that it leaned into the classroom stuff a little too much, sort of spelling out everything. But regardless, it's a really good film. I think all the performances are great, Glenn Powell, specifically, but it's a nice blend of drama and comedy with, the philosophical spatterings. I don't think we need to talk about them too much because I'm not sure if you guys know anything about philosophy.
Hey, I took an intro class 8 years ago.
All right, all right. But yeah, this definitely is a very Nietzschean film. Um, I don't want to say too much. I want to let Max speak.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Everything that I read about this film before I saw it was like, oh my God, this movie's incredible. It's like the best movie of the year after Dune Part 2. And I'm like, okay, cool. Those are really high expectations for a direct to streaming Netflix movie,
To
right?
be
Like,
fair, it
Yeah,
it was gonna be theatrical and then Netflix bought the rights in like 13 countries.
yeah, fuck Netflix. This movie should have been in theaters.
yeah.
And it had a limited run, but like that's not acceptable.
That's nothing.
I don't think it even made it.
It ran at festivals.
Yeah,
That's it.
it didn't come to like AMC's or
It made its
anything.
debut at Cannes, I think, last month, and then
Sure.
No, no, no. It made its debut like I think a few months ago
Really?
at one of the other film fest,
oh
or
no,
maybe it was.
you're right, Ben. It's a 2023 movie that made its debut, I think maybe Vienna last September.
Yeah,
Mm.
I mean, it's been showing
It's been around,
around
you're right.
film festivals. Um,
Yes. What was I thinking that made its debut at Cannes?
The Pool Man.
but
No, that debuted at TIFF,
That was a
I
TIFF,
think.
yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Max, go on.
regardless, it is a. I mean,
It's
this
a film. It is really well done. I had a lot of fun, but like best
it's
movie of the year?
it's
No.
really hard to like
Oh,
compare movies like this to a huge blockbuster like Dune. So I would, yeah, I mean, I just don't like to judge movies and that. I know everyone needs to for Best Picture, but this is
No,
a
and
really well done film.
I don't
Um,
think, Powell and Linklater are going for a best picture
no,
sort of awards season Oscar baity type movie here.
Linklater has never gotten awards, so why would he care now?
Right.
He
He just
doesn't
wanted to
make.
make a good movie, and he did. I really enjoyed it. Like Max said, I may have bought a little bit too much into the hype, seeing that, 98 on RT, 97 audience score,
Well,
seeing, the number one movie on Netflix in the world. Like,
well, of
stop.
course it's the number one movie in the
I
world. Like
like
everything that debuts on Netflix, the
and
moment it debuts, it
and
becomes number one.
Ben, I know what you're gonna say. I gotta stop putting too much stock in those numbers because I do it a
Yeah.
lot, and we know that. Um, but
Let me
I don't know.
explain
I
that
love
again for all the audience members. A Rotten Tomatoes score of like a high 90% does not mean that the movie is the next coming of Christ. What it means is that they've made a movie that almost everybody enjoys above 50%. That's all it means. That's it.
yeah, it's percentage of reviews are positive, not percent positive.
Yeah, you got to look at individual reviews or like Metacritic or something like that if you
Just go to
want to.
Letterboxd. They're all nerds like us.
Letterboxd, Letterboxd is okay. I mean, Individual reviews, I think, are better, or just see the fucking movie.
Form your own
Yeah,
opinion.
that's
Yeah,
better. Just
that's
watch the movie.
that's the easiest choice.
But yeah, like I mean, maybe I didn't buy into the hype, but I was like, you know, you read something like that, of course it's gonna get into your head of
I
like, yeah,
know hype
the
is such a
expectations are gonna be higher, even though that is obviously an unreasonable thing to expect.
hype is
And
one of the worst things in performances ever, in albums, in music, in anything arts. Um,
but
you can either reach that level or you can not reach that level. It has no advantage. Nothing ever exceeds the hype for a lot of people.
Dune Part Two did for me.
Yeah, but not for a lot of people. A lot of people are still like, "Oh yeah, this is kind of what I expected." You
Yeah.
expect a lot, you know. But I
Um,
think this is a good movie. It's just not a blockbuster. But
Yeah.
it has the Linklater like traits of being very funny with a somewhat real tone. Like you can kind of feel the depth of the characters, even though it's a ridiculous movie to an extent, it's not too ridiculous.
it's pretty grounded in reality for its concept. Yeah.
He's the ultimate dramedy guy.
Well, it would have to be because it was based on a true story.
Now,
Gary Johnson, R.I.P.
Ben, when we
Ben,
see
what do you
something
think about that?
like inspired by a true
What do I think
story
about
or
that?
based on real events, go ahead.
Um, yeah, I mean, I don't mind it. Like, this is not one of those things. A lot of movies will be like, this is based on, a true story, and like keep showing that. They don't they don't share that at all because I know that they probably made up a lot of the stuff. They just took the premise. And Linklater's pretty good about that. He's an artsy guy. He understands that he doesn't need to like trick the audience into watching his movie. So I don't mind it. I just hate it when things are like Amsterdam. But yeah, I mean it doesn't say it anywhere. This wasn't like advertised like that. They
No,
just
I didn't know it
dedicated
was
to it.
inspired by a true story until it popped
The
up on the
movie
screen at the
started.
beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I didn't really think about it until the credits rolled and I saw,
Yeah, and then it just
all that info
dedicates
about
it to
Gary
Gary
Johnson.
Johnson. It's like it feels like okay, that's fine. Um, but it never really tries to sell itself like a real story, I feel.
No, this could have been an entirely fictional conceit and it would have had the same impact on me.
And I have to imagine that the real Gary Johnson didn't actually kill that dude. And
Oh,
Well,
that
yeah,
never
because it
happened.
said it when the credits rolled, he never killed anybody. They made that part up.
Yeah. Oh, I must have
It
missed
was
that.
kind of cheeky in the credits like that. Like we made that up. Of course he
Yeah.
did. It's a movie. Hollywoodization.
I missed that, but I appreciate that.
Well, you stopped
Yeah,
watching as soon as the credits rolled, so
I don't stay for credits. Sorry, guys.
those people worked hard on the film, Benjamin. They're worth 6 extra minutes of your time.
I know, but I can just look them all up on Wikipedia.
But you don't. Am I right about that? You don't. I know because I don't.
I definitely do.
Fuck
I
off.
look up everybody.
Yeah, who is the best boy on this movie?
I don't know. I haven't I
Who's the
haven't
key
looked that
grip?
up yet.
Oh yeah,
Oh, those guys? No, no. Fine, don't look them up. To be fair, nobody on that set actually knows their names.
no, they're all Gary Ron.
Yeah. Boy.
That's not how it works.
Back in the
I mean,
old
maybe on
days.
a Linklater set. I don't know what he's like.
oh my
Link,
God.
Linklater. I imagine Linklater is very chill, but
Yeah.
I'd love to imagine him just going around, "Hey, boy, bring me some grapes."
Oh my God.
Not in a sexual way, guys. That is not.
It's purely for nutrition. He likes grapes.
I just meant. Never mind. scratch that.
Moving
Anyway, back
on,
to the movie. Back to the movie.
we gotta start a count how many times Ben goes on a tangent and then says back to the movie. Because it's been happening a lot lately.
Well, nobody stops me. They'll let me go off the
It's
rails.
entertaining for the two of us.
That's fine. I mean, as long as somebody's enjoying it.
So hey, Glenn Powell, this guy's really having a moment right now, huh?
Yeah.
No, he's doing well.
Yeah.
Um,
We're gonna talk about him again next month too.
so
That'll be our third Glenn Powell movie. Fourth? Third.
Third, Top Gun Maverick,
This one and
this one, and then
we didn't do
Twisters.
anyone but
We
you.
didn't do Anyone But You.
Okay.
um, but actually, getting back to the movie, what did you guys think of the melding of the sort of dark comedy, um, with what is sort of like it's almost a rom-com with comedy, features.
Yes.
It's a very weird movie, very I don't know how to say it, but independent movies, they just like to meld genres, and I think it's really cool.
I
This one's pretty accessible though to like the broad audience. I mean, you can watch it and just kind of have a good time.
Yeah, I mean, I think the darkness was kind of offset by how sexy it was. Like,
Yeah,
like
I
it
mean, it's
just
kind of
kind
like
of
mess,
made the
and
darkness like still kind of fun.
I
And
think that's kind of the point, right?
yeah.
Because you're I mean, they talk about it. I don't want to talk too much philosophy, but they talk about the id and the superego. And that's kind of the thing, right? Like it's so awful. Like logically, your brain is like, I shouldn't want this. But emotionally, you're drawn to it because it's so sexy, it's sleek, it's funny.
Hmm.
I mean, I think that the movie is kind of brilliant in that way, where it teases you as the audience just as much as Gary is sort of being, seduced by this life, uh, being somebody that you're not actually, but that apparently people like. Being able to do whatever you want because it's not actually you. The consequences are not as severe until eventually he becomes that person. He realizes he's capable of a lot more than he thought because perhaps the self is not restricted to, just who you are, but who you want to be and what the scenarios are that make you who you are.
No, and that's the entire premise of his closing monologue is seize the identity you want, right? And that's, I mean, it's another example of this movie sort of hitting us over the head as an audience with we're gonna cut to the classroom scene to over explain the movie's themes, but it's showing us what Gary does throughout the course of the movie. He seizes the identity that he wants.
But it also gives you a chance to see Gary sort of outside of his role of playing Ron, because in all of the other scenes he has to play some version of Ron, right? But in the classroom, he's really just himself, but the way he starts to speak in the classroom scenes changes, right? His inflection changes. He keeps that confidence that Ron has. He loses sort of the nasally narrator voice that he had toward in the beginning and sort of throughout the rest of the movie, but like he loses that when he's teaching. He has that confidence that's sort of brought out from him.
And we sort of see
Yeah,
that flip during the courtroom scene where he, narrates, thinks to himself, what would Ron do right now? And then he sort of has that switch and he takes it over as Ron, as Gary, as Ron. And, that sort of turning point towards the end of the second act of the movie really sort of sets us on our way for who this character is going to be in the third act, who is not Gary and not Ron, but some combination, not necessarily 50-50, of the two sides of this one person.
yeah, and I mean it's a very Nietzschean thing where he's become the person that allows him to get whatever he wants, um, even with no regard for life at a certain point. which is something that he was very averse to before. He like freaks out. He's like, I'd never killed anybody. And then in the ending scene, he sort of approaches it very calmly, like he's done it a million times. It's a weird thing, um,
Yeah, it's sorry.
but it.
Go ahead.
I mean, it's kind of a genius idea, which is like he's playing with these philosophical concepts and letting them play out in Gary's life, I guess. And even though like normally when you have these classroom things, they're supposed to be inspiring, like motivational, like telling you, hey, get out, do what you want to do, believe in yourself. And he sort of he starts off those classroom scenes where he starts questioning everything, very neutral, very open-ended, like, is that the right answer? This, that. And then by the end, he's very assertive, like, seize your identity. He's found an answer for his life. Um, I mean, before that, I think he also was questioning these things, and he's discovered this philosophical tract for him. But I don't think we're meant to just accept it. Um, Even though it ends, he's got his happy family, everything's going great. And then there's that hilarious scene at the end where they ask where they met. But I think it's still trying to sell us that message, like, if you're attracted to this. But morally, we shouldn't be, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, there was still, at least when I watched the end of the movie, I saw the climactic scene where Gary and Madison kill Jasper. Um, I sort of had a sense of almost unease when they sort of just said, "All right, he's gonna die, and we're gonna move on with our lives." Like I almost wanted them to make a different choice, but I didn't. Like there were two ways that could go, where they get caught and go to jail, and obviously that wasn't the way the movie was going to end, or the way that it did, and they move forward, getting away with killing both Madison's ex and Jasper. And I think, you know, ethically and morally speaking, having our heroes get away with murder when they're kind of this morally ambiguous type of people isn't exactly reassuring as an audience member. However, can't help but root for these two. So I don't know. I was kind of put in a weird place by the end of the movie. I loved it.
I think
I
that's
loved
kind
the
of the
ending.
point.
It was exactly what it was going for. It ended on a high note. It was an interesting sort of reaction I felt myself having.
I think, yeah, I mean, it's trying to like project those emotions that they're probably feeling onto us. And I really like that scene where he talks about, getting rid of a police officer and, very calmly talks about Jasper and his mental state. He talks the way that he's been acting for all the time as a hitman. It brings back to the conversations he had with his ex about like changing and like who yourself is. Is it, if you play this part long enough, will you become them? Will you start to realize where will some of those things seep into your actual personality? So I mean, I really I like the movie. I think it's really, really good.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Notes app scene because
Okay.
that is just, if I could gush about it for a second, that scene from a writing, directing, and acting standpoint is one of my favorite things I've seen this year. It's so well crafted and so well performed and then so well executed that it brings the entirety of the film around it, because that right there is the most thrilling, intense sequence of the film, because they're going back and forth about whether they're going to get caught. they had just had that big fight, and now he's coming in saying, "I'm on your side."
I
It's so there's so much going on here, and yet, like the rest of the movie, it's sleek, it's sexy, it's cool. It makes the movie like a well-oiled machine in that moment, where you've got this sense of sort of tension and discomfort, but also you're so drawn in and enthralled by what's going on that you don't think anything's going to go wrong. And then they make it work perfectly in the characters in the plot. They get away with it. Or
yeah,
he makes the cops, Gary slash Ron makes the cops think that the that Madison was not guilty in her Hanks's murder. I've watched that scene alone like 5 times. It's so well done.
That's a great scene. I mean,
it's
I
it,
yeah.
it's a good scene. Yeah.
Nothing. I'm getting nothing from you boys.
I just don't think it's the most thrilling scene, like at all.
What was your favorite scene in the movie, Ben?
It was my favorite scene in the movie.
Or what do you think was the best, most thrilling scene? Dealer's choice. How do you answer it?
I would probably say that like standoff with Jasper was one of the best. Um, I don't know. I mean, it was like it was thrilling. I just don't. There were other parts that I thought were like way more genius from a writing standpoint, from a directing standpoint. I think the Notes app was kind of like fun, but it's just, I mean, it's a gimmick and it works. But I wouldn't.
I loved that scene. I'm not ashamed of that.
That's fine. I just think it's kind of simple next to some of the other. I mean, he's working with philosophical context, doing a rom-com about a guy pretending to be a hitman. It's pretty insane stuff. That's pretty, I've seen that multiple times. Just like play, like you have to, let them know like somebody's listening. Um, I mean, it's well done, but it's not that hard to write, I don't think.
I didn't say it was hard to write. I just said it was well written.
Well, I feel
Watch
like
the
those
tape.
are okay.
Max, how about you?
I think my favorite was when he got to play like the Tilda Swinton Hitman version. Doesn't that was
Now,
pretty funny?
past this point, you will not be able to return. Are you sure you want to continue?
Ben, I think you have the future as a fake hitman.
Mm.
I just need the wig.
We can get you the wig.
Oh, we can make that happen. We can make that happen.
But yeah, that was a great get up. I love him, just changing disguises, doing
All
all
of
this
his
unnecessary
disguises are
stuff.
just
When he finds the kid that like wants to kill his mom, he's like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" Puts on the like Dirty Harry.
he puts on Dirty Harry, he puts on Patrick Bateman, he puts on
Yeah,
straight up Tilda Swinton.
Yep,
It's just
that's great.
his level of commitment, and that must have been so fun from an acting perspective to put on all of these different characters in one that it's and he does such a good job with it
he really wanted to show everybody that he has range, but in a span of like
in one
25
movie.
minutes in one movie. Yeah.
Yeah, he's going hard. I love it. I
Mhm.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Especially to have seen him in movies like,
Oh shit! I should have named myself Glenn Powell. God damn.
well, Jason Statham. Um, but yeah, to see Glenn Powell in these movies, we talked about Top Gun Maverick 2 summers ago. Um, didn't get a chance to talk about anyone but you. We're gonna be talking about him in Twister, like
Twisters.
Twisters,
Cheers.
excuse me, plural, Twisters.
Well,
Um,
Twister is already a movie.
this is a guy who is very rapidly becoming a superstar in Hollywood. He's going to get a lot of jobs from this movie, from Anyone But You, from Top Gun Maverick. He's going to keep getting work because
Yeah,
one,
he's a star.
Hollywood loves attractive, charismatic men in their 30s. And two, because he can actually fucking act. You've seen him on a range of cockiness. You've seen him on a range of confidence. Those are kind of the same things. You've seen him play again all of these different characters in one role in this film in particular, where you could see him even take steps beyond and do serious drama. You could see him in horror thriller. This guy has the capability to sort of mold himself however he wants. And now, having done these insanely popular films, he's put himself in a position where he can afford to do that with his career. He can take these risks and play these characters that he wants to play because he has that level of leeway after the success he's gotten in these last few films.
I mean, I think he's getting success because he's doing things that he's passionate about too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and we haven't even
So
mentioned that he produced the Blue Angels doc on Prime Video, which is like a legit passion project of his.
and he's also in Twisters, which you wouldn't do if you're like, oh yeah, I want my career to, keep going upward. You do that because you're like, I'm having fun. That's great.
Mhm.
And he's gonna be in the freaking show about the Eli Manning joke character,
Oh
Chad
yeah,
Powers.
he's gonna walk onto a college football team,
They saw Ted Lasso and they're like, all right, let's do Chad Powers.
and they're gonna do it with Glenn Powell, and it's gonna be awesome.
I hope so. I mean,
It's gonna be so fun.
but
I'm
like,
getting my hopes up.
yeah, he's doing things. He's doing whatever he wants. So I appreciate that. It's good.
Mhm.
We haven't even
Uh,
talked about Adria Arjona, which
that's
I do want to mention. The last time we talked about her on the pod was Morbius.
no, no.
I'm not gonna bring up Morbius beyond the fact that she was
That's
in it
it.
and she's, you know, a very, very talented actor when she doesn't get a dog shit script.
Yeah, but that's a trigger for me. You should know that.
All right, you're the one who brought up Amsterdam for yourself earlier. This is the episode about
Yeah,
triggering
but
men.
I can't trigger myself.
You're right. That's on Max for saying based on a true story, which we know is
Yeah,
one of your triggers.
True. It's true.
it was inevitable.
Based on true
Ben, we were
story.
we were planning that earlier today. We were texting back and forth saying, how can we get Ben to talk about based on a true story?
I really don't like based on true stories, but it's when they sell it. It's when they sell it as based on true story. If you put in the beginning, who
What was
cares? You said you made up half the stuff in the credits, apparently. I just don't want to see it sold as like a biopic or something.
what was the movie that we did a couple months ago that you got so worked up over?
Oh, the fucking Ministry of Ungentlemanlike Warfare.
Yeah.
Well, because they showed all that shit and
Also,
they're
Arthur
like,
the King.
and then I looked it up on Wikipedia and
Yeah.
it's like, yes, everyone died. It's like, what? James Bond never died. You just said at the end of the movie he was the inspiration for James Bond. That's all I'm
Ben, in
told.
our third or fourth episode of the pod, we acknowledged that James Bond died.
He didn't die. Never died. Just can't die.
Dude, there is no time to die. It was the name of the movie. And yet he died anyway. He got exploded everywhere.
And normally he's on time.
I don't know.
So, except he was late to get to Vesper in Casino Royale.
Oh, maybe that's it.
Just saying. They're all connected.
Realized
They're all
I'm gonna
connected.
just I'm gonna jog because Vesper died and Who cares? Gonna name a cocktail after in Valhalla.
Witness me.
Witness.
What a
That's actually what James Bond should have said on the comp. Right when he was like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna make it," he should have just said, "Witness me."
He just
I
whips
am
out
awaited in Valhalla.
he
What
whips
a
out the
glorious day.
spray and witness me.
Witness me.
Fuck it, send Glenn
Yeah.
Powell to the wasteland. Let him do a Mad Max movie.
Oh god.
Sure, but we
Sure.
failed the movie already by not going to the fucking theater.
Yeah. Well, I think we can all agree that Hitman is a very entertaining way to spend an hour 55
Yes,
or an hour 49 if you're Ben and don't watch the credits.
and if you like philosophy, don't expect like deep philosophical conversations, but there's some spatterings of some stuff. It's kind of,
Do expect to be sort of handheld through the themes of the movie
yeah.
through these philosophical
It's
readings.
yeah. I can understand. Yeah, I'll have to think more about it, whether I like it, whether I don't. It's in the middle.
Okay,
I like the movie though.
that's all we were going for. We like when we do movies that Ben likes.
Me too.
Well, Hitman is a lot more accessible thanks to the Netflix distribution in the United States than if it were in a theater, but it's still playing in a limited run, I believe, in some places, some back alley.
Just find it on Netflix.
Watch it on
Yeah,
Netflix.
it's on Netflix. Watch it there.
It's so
Probably not
easy.
playing near you.
Throw it on late at night. Enjoy it. It's a fun ride. Glenn Powell, Adria Arjona are both wonderful.
But also deeply think about the movie, If you were in that position, would you kill a dude?
Ben, would you?
Yeah,
Max?
probably.
I'd
Depends
have
on,
I'd think really hard about it, but
I mean, if she looked like
I'm
that,
not. Well,
That's a motivator.
it's the super ego.
mm,
Constant battle with the id.
I love that he named
His
his
cats.
cats that.
I love that he became a dog person by the end of the movie.
Yeah.
That shows that
Well,
people can change.
if you see his cats were id and ego, as in his ego was built up of his id, who he is, but by the end he's become a dog person.
What happens to the cats? I get that a couple years pass before we see the dogs, but what happens to the cats?
maybe they were old cats and they died.
It's not the
They
worst
live
theory.
upstairs. They live
They
upstairs.
live
I don't know.
upstairs. They
Or
went to a
they're
farm
outdoor
upstate.
cats and they're just happy chasing squirrels.
All right. Enjoy Hitman on Netflix. We're going back to the movies this week. Or next week. We are talking about Pixar's first sequel in a few years, Inside Out 2. Check that out in theaters this weekend. Check out Hitman on Netflix. We'll see you next week.
See ya.
And
Have a good night.